Okay.
A robot voice just told me
Yep.
recording in progress, and if anybody else got that.
Yep.
Good to know.
Okay. Over to you, Blair.
Cool. So yeah, I was saying I've got a sort of basic user guide that is a sort of summary of just everything, which I'll download as a PDF and send it all to you. But I'm basically just going to go through that. A lot of this, I need to share my screen, actually, that would be helpful. If I can find which one it is. That one. Let me know if you can all see that.
Yep.
I see nodding heads, that's good. Yeah, so a lot of I mean, it's still WordPress. A lot of the back end of the site will be pretty familiar because a fair amount of it hasn't changed from what was there before. A lot of the content, like, your events, projects, news articles, that kind of stuff, all that's still there. And it's basically in the back end anyway, it's in the same format that it was in before. So not a huge amount's changed. The more significant bits are either the bits that we've changed slightly or the new bits that we've added, like the videos and the podcasts and resources and stuff, but we'll get to that. I'm basically just going to go through each of these things in the sidebar. We can skip over some of them if not much has changed. One thing I will point out, and you might know this already if you're familiar with WordPress, but it's always good to know there's a thing in the top right in the back end called screen options. And it basically allows you to enable and disable things that appear on the screen. So the dashboard, for example, by default has like a bunch of stuff on it, which isn't really useful. So I usually I open screen options and then turn these things off just so it's not cluttered. But that screen options thing applies everywhere. So if you're ever in an edit screen somewhere and you're not seeing something that you think you should be, like a certain setting or whatever, it's worth checking in the screen options just to make sure that it's not been disabled. It happens rarely, but it's good to know that you can at least check that if it does. So yeah, dashboard is pretty boring. The media library is exactly the same as it was before. All the old media should still be there. So all the old, images and documents and whatever. And then there's obviously at the top, there will be like the newer stuff that we've added, the new images and whatever. But that should all still be there. So no changes. Forms is a new bit. So I think the old site used, I think, contact form 7 or something similar to it. It is, yep. So we've replaced it with Gravity Forms, which does basically the same job, but slightly better. So there's only 2 forms on the site currently. There's the general inquiries, which is just the contact form. And then there's the newsletter sign up, which is the new one that we added last week, I think. So if you're an editor, which is what I'm logged in as just now, there's a couple of things you can do. You can view the entries, which is the main thing. So this is like the contact form and it will show you all the submissions. They do get emailed out, so we can set up, if they're not already, we can set up email notifications to go out to wherever you want. But if you do need to see all the entries for whatever reason, you can see them in here. There's just one just now because it was just me testing out. And then you can switch, so if you want to see the other form, it will show you that. I don't think there's any for that yet. And the other thing you can do, which may or may not be of any use to you, is you can export entries. So in the sidebar, there's this import export bit. So if you wanted to export, say, all the newsletter sign up entries, you select that form, you choose whichever fields you want. A lot of these can be ignored. I think the main one, say if you wanted to get all the email addresses, you would check that, and then you can set a date range as well. So if you wanted them all from a particular month or whatever, and then that downloads as a CSV that you can open in like Google Sheets or what's it called, Excel. Just if you wanted to export them for any reason, you can do that. Admins have a few other options. So if you're a full admin, you can basically do everything. So you can edit the forms themselves, like add extra fields and stuff. Our recommendation generally is not to do that because it's fine enough to add them in the back end, but then if you go and add some fields to like the contact form, say, we need to make sure that even if you add them in the back end, they display properly on the front end. So generally, I would say if you want to add any fields or if you want to add a new form or whatever, if you let us know through the support system, and we'll just do it for you, because it's generally easier that way, I would think. And yeah, that's basically it, I think, for forms. Pages is just pages. It should be the same as it was before. There's obviously some pages that have been deleted and a couple of new ones have been added, but most of them are all still there. I think there's 26 in total. I do actually have the old ones, so the ones I've deleted are in the trash. I haven't deleted them completely, just in case you want to recover one of them or grab a bit of content from one of them or something. They are still there, so if that's there if you need it. But all the pages stuff should now be set up and kind of done. The main bit here really is the page builder. So there's two types of pages basically. There's pages that have like a fixed layout. So that's things like if I go to like our team, for example, where it's got like the grid of people that appears with the filters and stuff. That's a fixed layout that we've custom built. So it's not one that you have to like build yourself. Same thing with like the projects page, the publications page, stuff like that. Those are all fixed and they have their own little templates that are already set up. The other type are page builder pages, which are basically flexible layouts. So that's things like, if I go to like who we are, for example, this is a page builder page. So in the back end, if I go into who we are, you can see you've got this sort of page builder option. The template is set to page builder. It has to be set to that if you want to use the page builder.
Just a moment, Blair. Could you do this? I'll just switch pages to a little bit more slowly. There's a bit of a lag coming through in Zoom.
Oh, is there a delay?
Yeah, so just
just
pause a little longer on the page.
Yeah, no worries.
Cool.
So who we are is a page builder page. You can see we've got these. It's made up of these different blocks. So for this one, we've got like a banner, and then 4 text blocks below it. And if I switch to the front end, you can see you've got a banner at the top and then 4 different text blocks. So you can kind of assemble pages using the page builder. There's, I think, 24 different blocks in total. So you can add blocks to this or rearrange them. We've kind of built this page out based on the content that was already there. But if you wanted to add a new block, say you click add block and there's a whole list. There is a page, which I'll show you, that we've added called Page Builder Examples, I think it's called, that's got just all the blocks in order on a single page. So just to let you see what they all are. A lot of them appear on existing pages anyway, but it's just there as like a kind of reference. So like, for example, if I wanted to add like a news carousel to this page, latest news, we put in a title, you can add a link and stuff. A lot of these fields are optional. And let's say we want to load like 6 articles or 6 of the latest ones. Click update. Once it saves, if we reload the front end and go down at the bottom, you've then got the latest news and it pulls through the latest 6 articles in a carousel, that sort of thing. So you can add blocks that way. You can also rearrange them. So like that's down at the bottom by default. If I wanted to move that up closer to the top, you can. So you can kind of create any sort of page layout that you want, using the blocks that we've created. I'll show you that. Let me just delete that actually before I forget. I think I've actually got that page in the menu. So it's under, this is just here for reference. We'll take that out obviously, but under join us, there's a page builder blocks link. You might have already seen it. And this is basically a page it's really long, but it's got like every single different block that we've got on it. So you can basically go through and use it as a reference. And if I go into like the back end of that, they're probably all open, so it takes up a load of space, but you can see all the blocks are there. So every block, I don't want to go through every single block and tell you what they all do, because a lot of it's fairly self-explanatory. I've added this sort of guidance text to each one to try and explain like what each of the options are. But each block basically has a list of settings. So there's usually like a title. Some of them have links and stuff, and then like the kind of general settings depending on what the block is. I think the best way, honestly, is to both use this kind of page as a reference and just to kind of play around with it. As I say, a lot of the pages that are there just now, we've already set up and we've already basically built them for you. But the page builder is more like if you want to either add blocks to an existing page, or if you're creating a new page, you can then construct them with a page builder. I think the main other place we use it other than pages is the resources. So things like, is it A Life in Pieces? The big sort of, one of the bigger resources anyway, that uses the page builder as well, because it's got its own sort of page. It's not just like a file that you download or whatever. And that works in the exact same way. I think that's covered the page builder, I hope. As I say, the reference is pretty useful. We'll take it out of the menu, obviously, so people can't see it, or we can unpublish it, but we'll leave it in the back end just for reference, or if you want to create like a draft page and add blocks and just mess around with it and see how it works, that's probably the best way to do it. So the next thing I've got is events. All the events should be there from previous. The only ones we might not have, I checked this like a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember when we started building the site, but if there's been any events, or the same goes for like news articles or whatever that have been added since we took our copy of the site, they won't be there. So if any have been added since, I think it was probably like January, those might need to be re-added here, but all the legacy ones should be there. So there's still like the latest one, I think we've got, latest event was the 17th of December. So those should all be listed now as like past events. The only change I think we've made to the events is they're now split on the events again. Yeah, they're split into like upcoming and then past. Obviously, all of them are, all the real ones anyway, are now in the past. So I've added these like 6 fake ones just to show you that that's where they appear. Obviously, those can get deleted and replaced with real ones. And the only other change, so this is all the same, the only other change I think we've made to the events is we added this extra field called video available. And all that does is it adds this little tag to illustrate that there's a video of that event, presumably. I think everything else, all the fields and stuff, should be exactly the same as they were before. So that's all fine. Projects is kind of a similar story. I think the projects are, they should all be there. I think they're exactly the same as they were before. I don't think we've touched the back end stuff at all. Yeah, it all looks the same. News is kind of the same thing. The only difference to the news is that we've now imported the blog articles as well. So they're kind of mixed in. The way they're differentiated is they're in a different category. So all the like normal articles are in the news category, and any of the blog articles that we brought across are in the blog category. But everything else I think is exactly the same. Yeah, all the other thing with the blogs as well is they are, all the content's there. So we've imported all that, so they should all be correct. And they've obviously got, they don't have any connections by default because they didn't have them on the sort of blog site, but you can add connections and stuff to these if you want to. So yeah, I think that's the only thing that changed there. Although, as I say, like we've got like 480 of these. If there's been any new articles that have been posted, I don't know how many there are. They can just be added again. The next few I can probably burn through. Team Institutes, exactly the same. I haven't touched it. It's just the four universities, just for the connections. Team team roles is exactly the same as well. I think we added a new one called alumni, was the only difference. I added one person to the alumni group because it was a new one, there wasn't anybody in it. If I can remember who it is, then I'll go and take them out, and then you can add people who are actually alumni. But yeah, those should be exactly the same as well, and the themes are the same too. I don't know if any new themes have been added since we started. The themes are pretty basic anyway, but those are all still the same as they were before. People, all the people should still be here, hopefully. The front end of the people's changed a fair bit in terms of like their profile, obviously, but I think the back end is generally the same. So they're in the 4 sort of different groups. So what is it? It's like research staff, postgrads, associates, alumni, our team. So that's like their team roles. And then within each one, I think all the fields are basically the same. The only new ones we added are, I think, these 3. So maybe the phone number was there before. The LinkedIn link and the Twitter link, I think, are the only 2 things we've added. And they also, previously, they had like connected news articles, but they didn't have connected events. So we added that as well as a new connection. So under news and events, Niall here's obviously got some articles and stuff, and then there's an event that he's associated with as well. So connected events is a new thing, but it's just a new connection. Everything else should still be the same. One thing I have done with so in the sort of people grid, looking back, obviously most of these images are square, but if you scroll down a bit, I don't know how far you have to go to find one. There's somebody that doesn't have one. Yeah, there's one. So like some of the images aren't perfectly square. It's just because they're legacy and they just weren't square when they were added. There is in the sort of featured image, you can crop these. So there's like a little, next to the edit icon, there's like a little crop symbol. If you click that, it lets you crop it, and it will basically, no matter where you crop it, it's always a perfect square. I mean, I don't know if it's actually worth going through all like the old ones if you spot any that do have like a weird sized image. So that's, what's her name? Emma Forbes. Oops. If I can spell, which I can't. So yeah, under Emma, if you wanted to crop hers to be square, you would just click that little crop icon, and then you can crop it, and it should appear normally after that. It's up to yourselves if you want to do that. It's more for like if new people are being added and you're adding a picture and the picture you've got isn't square. It just means that it'll always be kind of the right size, and it'll fit in with the rest. So Emma, if I find her again, should be, yeah, so she's now square. I think everything else is the same for the people. So that's all good. Publications, same thing. I don't think these have changed really. We've retained all of these as well, obviously. I'm just having a quick check to see if there's any new fields, which I don't think there are. So those are all still there. That's all good. Videos, this is a new thing. So there wasn't like a videos like post type or anything on the old site. So this is new. I've added a bunch of, where's videos? I've added like some fake ones just to show you kind of what they should look like. So if I look at like number 8, for example, just because it's at the top of the list. So you see what fields there are and stuff. So each one has a title. It's got the body field is like this kind of main description here. You've got some video details, so who presented it, how long it is. The published is just the date, just whenever it was added. So these are in the kind of video info bit here. The video ID, so we're loading all the videos from YouTube. Obviously, you don't actually have to upload them to the site directly, and you can see it pulls through from YouTube. All you do is put in the ID of the video. So to get that, if we were looking at this video on YouTube, say, there's a couple of ways you can find it. The easiest one is just in the URL. You've got the youtube.com/watch. It's this ID here, this sort of random number. The other way is, oh, don't need to hear that, thanks. The other way is if you click share, it gives you this link that's like just a simplified version of the link at the top. And it's just this string that you want after the /. If you put that ID in there, the front end will just load that video automatically. So that's all you need for that. There's the excerpt, which is the if we go back to the videos page, it's just this sort of like short version of the description. If there isn't, and if you don't provide an excerpt for one, it'll basically just take the first however many characters or words from the body and use that. But it's probably a good idea to just have like a fixed description, because that way you can control how long it is and stuff. And then the other bits we've got on the page, so below so you've got the video, the details and stuff. We've then got the themes that they're connected to, and then related videos. So these are under the related section here. They're basically the same thing as connections, but because this is a new post type, we've built it in the way that we would normally do it. It does the same thing, it's just a slightly different, it just looks a bit different when you're setting it up. So in related themes, you basically just get a list of all the themes which come from the themes bit, and you select which themes it's related to. So you can select from the list, they move over to the right, you can rearrange them and stuff. And then the same goes for the related videos. So it gives you just a list of all the videos that there are. And then they will pull through into that carousel. So like if I save that, we should get four themes appearing. Yeah, so those then pull through, and then the same thing, the videos just appear in the carousel like that. If you only pick two, it just doesn't, it's not a carousel if you only pick two or one, it just displays it normally. But yeah, that's just kind of like the new interface for doing the connection stuff. And then you've got your featured image at the side, which is just the thumbnail. And I think that's basically it for the videos. Hopefully that's easy to set up for when you go to add them. The other, well, there's a couple more new post types. Just Humans podcasts. It's just the 8 podcast episodes. I went into, I forget what the service is called now, but I went and downloaded all the 8 episodes and I've uploaded them. So these should all be finished and ready to go. There was a 9th one, which was like a trailer. I don't know if the trailer needs to be here or not. I just brought over like the main episodes. You can add that if you want to. So under Just Humans, they're obviously split into 2 seasons, which is just a category. So it's a taxonomy called podcast series. So these ones, if I got them the right way around anyway, these 4 are season 2, and then these 4 are season 1. If we look at networks, for example, so each one we've got the title, there's a big description, and there's also the excerpt, which works the same way as the videos. It's just the wee sort of short description that appears here. The published date, obviously, under podcast fields, there's a couple of things in here. So there's the episode number, so whatever episode number it is in the series, who presented it, the length of the audio, the actual audio file itself, which we've uploaded already. And then there's the links to the specific episodes on the different platforms, which I've added already. A couple of them, I don't remember which way around it was. Some of them are on SoundCloud and some of them aren't, or I couldn't find them anyway. I think the season 1 ones are maybe on SoundCloud. I've added all the links that I could find, but you can go and add in any extra ones if need be. Most of them should be there anyway. So yeah, in the individual episode, it's a lot of the same info. You've got the audio player obviously at the top. The big body field is all there. These are the individual links that you put in. Obviously, this one doesn't have SoundCloud because there isn't a link to SoundCloud. And then it loads by default. It'll load the other episodes in that season. So this is number 4, so it just loads 3, 2, 1, etc. The only other thing for these, which I'll show you at the end because it's in a different section, is this how to listen bit at the side. Because the text is presumably always the same for that, to save you having to put the same text in for each of the 8 episodes. It's in a separate bit called global settings because it's just the same on all of them. But I'll show you that when we get to it.
Can I chip in one extra comment about the podcasts?
Go for it.
So the pictures that were used for these podcasts came from like a free image library, and I can send you a link to that because it's a really good source of free stock images that look quite nice and minimal, because what we can't do with the way we've designed it is like use images that have got like text in them or heavily graphics. It's got to be kind of a fairly clean photographic style image.
Yeah, so that
because
they're
we're
used
overlaying
for like
text.
Aye, yeah.
I was going to ask Blair just to go into that a wee sec so that I could see where you would upload the image, because I don't think I saw exactly where the image upload would come in the back end.
Sorry, it's in the sidebar here, so it's just the featured image. So as Sharon was saying, we've added all these already, the 4 that we've got, and then they're used both as the background on the sort of landing page, and then when you click into one of them, it's also the image that's like behind here. So I think it also has like the left side of it has like a sort of dark overlay because the text's on it to make it more readable. So yeah, the more it's effectively a background more than anything else. But yeah, those are all there.
And when there's not an image uploaded, it just says set featured image, and it'll let you browse to existing images within the media library or let you upload a new one.
Yeah, so if there is, I've just taken that out. So if there isn't one, you click set featured image, and if I go in, hopefully I can find it again. I think it's, yeah, I mean, you can select anything, but I think that was the one that was there before. Set, and then that's it. I don't really need to save that because it was the same as it was before, but whatever. So yeah, I think that's it for the podcasts. Resources is also a new thing. So we took these from, I think there was a page on the old site called learning resources or something like that. So we downloaded the ones that have files anyway, and brought them over. So I think there's 19 in total, including a Life in Pieces, which is kind of the bigger one. The only thing I didn't do, or I sort of haven't done, is they're split on the new site into learning resources and teaching resources. I wasn't sure which of these are which, so I've added them all to both categories. You'll probably want to change that. So something like if what is crime, for example, if that's a learning resource and not a teaching resource, you would just come in and uncheck it, and then it would only appear on the learning resources page, or vice versa if you do it the other way.
Yeah, all of these are learning resources.
All of them are, okay.
All of them are, and then our next job in the next few months or so is to upload. We do have a bank of teaching resources. That was that link to it was called Repository. It was like its own website. Is to take all that and put it into this website.
Right, okay. So is the for when the site goes live, is there likely to be any teaching resources?
I wouldn't think so. I think our aim is just to put this up live, and then after it's live, then we'll hopefully be in a position to start thinking about how and when we can add the teaching resources that we've got.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, we can we'll hide the teaching resources page.
Yeah.
For the launch, then that's fine.
Yeah.
One thing that might be useful, you might already know this, but if you want to bulk edit all these, so I've got these marked all as both learning and teaching. If you select them all under bulk actions, click edit and then apply, you can choose some kind of basic settings. So if I set these all, hopefully this works. If I set them all to just learning resources and hit update, it should, maybe it doesn't do it like that. I think it's if you've got them both selected. You can also quick edit each one though. So to save you going into the actual page and unchecking it and then saving it, if you click quick edit on any of them, you can just uncheck it, update, and that's it. that's probably a bit quicker than going into each one and doing them all. But yeah, as I say, we'll hide the teaching resources stuff. It's all there anyway. So when you do come to add them, it's the same for both. The only difference is the category that they're in. I think that's it for resources, in which case I've reached the end of that particular part of the list. There's a couple other bits. So in global settings, which is this bit down here, just quickly, profile is basically nothing. It's just your account, unless you want to change your profile picture or something, you can, I suppose. And then tools is kind of an admin thing. If you click tools as an editor, I don't think there's actually anything here. So that can just be ignored. It's just a kind of default WordPress thing. Global settings is another bit that I've added that's got some global stuff in it. So it's things like the footer. So there's some settings for the footer. There's like the address, the email address. If I bring the footer up actually, so you can see it. So that's like this address here, this email address, the Twitter link. There's some bits for like the text above the mailing list, the link to the mailing list or the newsletter sign up. So that's this kind of bit here. Quick links is actually a menu, which I'll show you in a minute. There's also like the footer logos, so it's just like the 4 university logos and stuff. And then the links that go along the bottom as well. So basically everything for the footer is in here. That's these kind of links there. The only bits that aren't managed in there are the SCCJR 2022 copyright bit, because it's not likely to change, and we've set it so that it'll just show whatever the current year is. So you don't have to, like, you know, New Year's Day or whatever, you don't have to go in and change it to 2023 or anything. And the quick links menu is a menu, so it's managed in the same place as like the main menu and stuff. I'll show you that. I don't think the editors have access to that, but I'll show you that in the admin settings. The other global stuff, we've got default images for things. So in the case that any of these particular post types don't have, this is more so for the old ones. So like the events, I don't think many of them, or I think some of them do have images, but I think most of them probably don't. So like this one, I've set that as the image for it. So that's the one that appears. If an event doesn't have an image set, then it shows the default one, and you can choose what the default one is by setting it in here. So you can change these. And it's the same story for news articles, projects, resources, videos, and the podcast image, that's got a default as well. So yeah, if you do want to come in and add a different default image, that's fine. I just use these ones because we just had them in the media library. And then the final global thing, I said that before, was the wee how to listen bit in the sidebar for the podcast episodes, because it's like a generic thing that just links to the platforms and not like specific episodes. That's editable in there. And I think that's it for global settings. I'm going to have to switch. Actually, maybe I can just sign out. That's probably easier. I'm going to switch to my admin account so I can show you some other stuff that's not there normally. So I don't know. I think some of you, I know Rochelle anyway, you've already got an account, and I think you're an administrator. I don't know if all 3 of you will be admins or if you'll be editors or whatever. It's just different levels of permissions. So everything we just went through was what the editors can access, which is like one step below an admin. If you're an admin, you get all that plus some extra stuff. So this is all written down in the guide anyway, but I'll just show you briefly what each of the new things are. So appearance controls kind of basic theme appearance settings. Most of the stuff in here you don't need to touch, like the themes and stuff, customize, whatever. You can ignore all that. The only thing that might be useful in here is the menus. So like I was saying, we've got, there's 2 menus. There's the main menu, which is just the main menu at the top. So that you've got like your about us and then the sub items, people, sub items. So for example, if we were going to hide the teaching resources, you could come in here and then just remove it from the menu, save it. And then if I reload on the front end, under resources, teaching resources isn't there anymore. We'd have to do other bits for that, because I think the resources landing page has got a teaching resources carousel on it, but we can get rid of that as well. But yeah, any menu updates can be done in there. The only other menu, like I say, is the quick links one, which is in the footer. So that's like about us, people, our work, etc. That's just this menu here, so you can add links and remove links and stuff. You can also change, so it defaults to whatever the name of the page is or the thing that you're linking to, but you can change it if you want to. So if you don't want it to say about us, you can change it or whatever. So the menus are in there. Everything else can basically be ignored. Plugins is all the site plugins that we've added. That's a development thing, which you can totally ignore. And I would advise that you do. We'll be updating the plugins regularly anyway. So if you see, you might everything's up to date now because I've done already, but you might see like a little thing here telling you that, oh, there's plugin updates or whatever. We come in and do those on a regular basis. And when we do it, if anything, it doesn't happen often, but if you update a plugin, sometimes things break or whatever and you need to fix it. So it's best that we do it because we can take a backup before we do it and then also fix anything that might break. Doesn't happen often, as I say, but when it does, it's good to have somebody on hand to fix it. Users, you've probably seen this already, but that's just where all the user accounts are. I think all the accounts should still be there from the previous site. I don't know if there's anybody in here that can be deleted, or if new people need to be added. We can do that for you if you want, or if you're familiar with adding users and stuff, then you can just do it as well. That's totally fine. But I've left that as it is for now. That's where you can see as well, like who's an admin and who's an editor. So like there's a handful of admins, but most everybody else is an editor. Tools, as I say, this is, so if you're an admin, you get all this extra stuff under here. That's a development thing as well, so you can totally ignore that. Same thing for settings. It's all like WordPress backend stuff that's not relevant at all, so you can ignore that. Same thing for custom fields. That's where we create all the fields that you see in the back end when you're editing pages or the page builder or any post type or whatever. That's where we've set that all up. So ignore that as well. And then also the CPT UI thing, it's a custom post type thing. You can totally ignore that too. So the only relevant things, if you're an admin, the extra stuff you get is the appearance bit where you can edit the menus, the users bit. And then the other thing, which I mentioned before, was the forms. So if you're an admin, you can just see extra stuff, like you can actually see the forms, you can edit them and stuff. So you can add fields and whatnot. As I say, it's best to just get us to do that anyway. But it is there just for reference. And I think that's it. That's all I've got in my doc anyway. Sharon, if I've missed anything, please let me know.
No,
I think that's it.
I think that was everything, but if you guys have any questions.
Yeah, I've got a few questions, just more about adding new content over, because I'm a bit concerned that for sections like publications, we have had publications that have been uploaded since December, but not many, like 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
But the people section has changed because we've had more people. We basically asked people to ensure that their profiles were updated. So there has been quite a lot of work done in the people section. And I would just be a bit concerned that we're losing that. And is there any way to ensure that when we hit the go button that it is up to date, that everything on the site's up to date? Like, can you transfer those changes that have been made this year effectively?
It depends what it is. Not so you're saying the main one was people, so I take it people, it's not like loads of new people have been added, but they've updated their profiles and stuff.
Yeah,
presumably,
there's been a few
stuff, yeah.
There's been a few new people that have been added, like Marty Chamberlain, who's up at the top. I added him yesterday. There's a guy, Javier, I just updated an existing profile, so Marty's brand new. But I sometimes a bit confused about the back end of our current website as to whether it does things in, you know, the publish section, whether that's always completely accurate. But is there a way to scoop up all those edits that have been made in the people section and make sure that they're in the new website?
We would basically have to do an import. So kind of in the same way that we imported the blog posts. I know that was a separate thing anyway. But we'd basically have to. So when I took a copy of the site probably sometime in the beginning of January. And that's basically what I've worked on since then. So any updates that have been made to, so either new stuff that's been added or like settings that have been changed for any of the post types, none of that will be there. We'd have to basically import all the new stuff. So even though it's the same people effectively, we'd have to do an import so that we'd get all their new info. So like if they've added, I know there was like a pronouns thing and stuff, like if they've added that kind of thing, we'd have to do an import. I'm not 100% on how we would do that, but it's something we can
have a look
into.
at that.
Yeah. Is that the case? Is that likely to be the case for a lot of other stuff as well?
No,
So,
it
like
really is the people section's the one
people's the main
I'm
thing.
most worried about, because there's been, you know, that's been a big undertaking for me and Emily, is to make sure that section of the website was as up to date as possible for.
So it's had quite a lot of work across a lot of people. I mean, so things like you mentioned publications. I mean, I guess that would just be a case of bringing over any like new publications, and that would be quite easy to work out what's new.
There hasn't been many.
You've not changed. There's like no changes to, no edits to individual things. It's more just there's new things.
New stuff's been added. Yeah, that's fine. So it's just the people stuff then, really.
It's the people section.
So ideally, we'd want to do like empty out what we've got from the people section and do a fresh import of all the people again. I guess.
Pretty much, yeah.
But we'll have a look at that.
If you have a look at that, and then if there's a date as to when you're doing that, then let us know so that we don't keep adding
more stuff.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, because you don't want to have to do it twice.
Yeah, which is kind of what my fear is that we are, and it's hard. And I mean, it's hard. It would be hard for Emily and I to know where to start.
I think we probably want to just sort of establish that we can do it, and that's probably going to be, if you're going to continue updating them on the current site, it would probably be one of the last things that we then do before switching to the new site. I guess getting a sense of what you think needs done, extra needs done before we're ready to put the site live would be quite good. I mean, are we just at the stage where we maybe want to like just make sure the publications are across, make sure any news and events are across, implement the animations throughout the whole website, and then do our people import and we're good to go? I mean, are you fairly close to thinking you're good to go at your end?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the other thing I'm thinking of is those little blurbs that go under each title. So the about us, and then I think we've just kind of put in holding text.
All right, on each.
So like these.
That stuff as well. Yeah, it's just not
anywhere that we've got
that section. I know there's some like holding text that we've got in other pages. So I think it would be, and that was what I was going to ask you, for stuff like that where there might be that holding text. Is that something that I should send you to add in, or is that something that I should?
It's something you should be able to just edit now.
Edit now.
It's probably easier if you just edit it yourself rather than trying to send things to us and then explain where it's got to go.
Also for the new.
Yeah, so I can get into the back end of this now.
Yeah, I think to be honest, you should actually have not that there was any reason for you to log in before today, but I think your account's still there and it should have the same username and password, so you should be able to log in with just whatever details you normally use. If not, if you can't for whatever reason, let me know and I'll reset your passwords or something.
Okay. So I think what I might do is kind of take a bit of an action here where the events section as well is something where we have had more events since whenever that was, January, Feb, whenever we have had more, and I can upload those myself if that takes some pressure off of you guys to purely focus on that people section and just the issue of getting the edits that we have made up until today. What are we on? Wednesday 16th. If we focus on that, I can focus on effectively re-uploading bits in the event section.
Yeah, I
the
think
news section, publications.
I did a check a couple of weeks ago just to get an idea of like how much new stuff's been added. I don't think there was anything to. So right now on the live site, there's 591 events, and on our version, there's 582, minus the 6 fake ones, obviously. So it's actually 576. But there's not like a huge like loads of them that need to be added.
No, there's not. And if we can do stuff that kind of helps you guys focus on one thing, then that's fine. I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
definitely good for the purposes of as well of just making sure that you have a good handle on how to manage the sort of new sections.
Yeah. Okay. Just trying to think what else on the site. News podcast. The videos would be another one. We have to kind of manually upload all the videos that we have on our YouTube site, which I think we've got 40-ish videos on our YouTube site. And again, if me or Emily can start kind of uploading that on the current site, that would be something that between us we could do.
Yeah, hopefully it's a lot of copy pasting. I've had to do stuff like that before. Hopefully it's not too painful.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where you could just we could get on with that. And just stop doing anything we're doing with the people section for now, and just move on to trying to upload those videos on the back end. Events, a few publications. I'll get on with the blurbs, to remove those holding texts. And
I think anywhere you can see that I've got that kind of the Latin like placeholder text. There's not much of it, I don't think, but anywhere that there is that.
I'll do that. It's easy to miss as well because there's so many pages that it's easy to miss those bits. So that's another thing we'll do, is just make sure that each page doesn't have any Latin gobbledygook
placeholder stuff. Yeah.
Anything else?
Would you have a date you're aiming for to have this wrapped up and put live?
There isn't any kind of special date. The other thing that we have kind of slightly complicating things at our end, you might have seen in the news, is university industrial actions. There's been quite a lot of strikes. There are strikes again for the for all of next week. And then there's another ballot as to when there'll be even more strikes. So knowing a kind of good date to aim for feels a bit difficult at the moment because I don't know, and I'm obviously not going to launch something when people are out on strike. So I'm not entirely sure. If we could do something, if I could do it in April, I'd be happy. But again, that might depend on strike action. But for you guys, I mean, I would ask you as well, like, you obviously have other clients, other things that you want to get on with. Do you guys have a date that you
we don't really have a massive amount left to do here from a sort of development point of view. I mean, we'll need a little bit of time to roll out the animations, and then towards the end a little bit of time to do the import of the people. But I mean, we're not talking massive amounts of time. It might be like a day or two to do the animation, and we might do the people, we'll work out how to do the people import, and that might be done just at the point just before we put the site live. So I mean, there's no need to, I mean, it's really down to how quickly you guys can get your content, the rest of the content on, and be happy that we've got a fairly solid finished website. Then we would need like half a day to a day to roll it out to make it live. So
Yeah. Well, I think we're like a couple of weeks away from that. If we take it, if we push on,
mhm.
which is doable.
And we can usually find a day that we can.
Yeah.
So if you were thinking that maybe by the end of March you've got like all your content on, and I mean, if there's 3 of you and I know you're saying there's maybe like 40 videos to put on. That might take a day to do. It might not take as much as that. It might take a day to do though. The other things like adding a couple of publications and news articles, it'll probably take an hour. You know, it's not like there's not necessarily massive amounts of time going to be required.
That's true.
Yeah, the good thing, a lot of the legacy content is already there.
Yeah. True. Okay.
So I think if you got a good run at it, you'd probably have the content sorted fairly quickly. It's just whether you can manage that or not.
Okay.
I mean, it's generally better when you're still making updates to your live website as well. I mean, it's like the sooner you can switch to the new one and not have to have this like feeling that there's these 2 separate entities, generally the better as well.
Yeah.
So you're not doubling up on any work.
So if we keep the aim as the end of March and just see where we are, and I think you're right, Sharon, we won't be a million miles away. I think at that point we'll just be thinking of a date, and there'll be minimal for you to do other than hit live, and really it's up to us to make sure we're promoting all that and everything's secure. Okay, that sounds like we're kind of on track then.
I think so.
Yep. Just to clarify, because I've missed anything, the things I've got a note to do are work out an import for the people, add the sort of animation interaction stuff that's on the homepage to the rest of the site, and then hide the teaching resources for now, which doesn't that's just turning off some blocks. That's fine.
The other thing actually I was going to ask you to do, Blair, was see you were saying in the forms you can set up a notification to go to an email.
Yep.
That would be good. And the email would just be inquiries at SCCJR. So if that notification could be set up,
right,
that would be great. That would be another thing.
It's on the list.
And sometimes when you start adding content yourself, and it'll throw up like extra questions, but if and when it does, just let us know.
Just let us know, yeah.
With the themes, I think I know the answer to this anyway, but I'll ask it. If I wanted to edit the themes in this current, on the new website, is that okay? I'm literally just gonna, like, if I had to edit a word on the themes, like.
In this, so you're talking about like
that's not going to break anything or do anything.
No, don't think so. Well, I hope not. Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, and you can add a theme, but you can't delete a theme effectively.
I think you can delete themes, but it then obviously affects all everything that's like connected to it.
Yeah.
It'll just work the same way as it would on the live site. So yeah.
Yeah, because I think we have updated themes, but it just means all of this kind of still stands, but it's just maybe I'm adding in a word or slightly changing, kind of slightly changing the order of it in terms of the itself. But that's fine. That might be something else that I would do myself. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, everything we've just gone through about like all these different bits you can edit and stuff, just go for it.
Cool.
And if you get stuck, just ask.
Give us a shout.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, that's all kind of my questions. I'm quite kind of comfortable with the back end stuff. It doesn't look much different to what we currently have anyway. At any time that we're editing stuff, I give the main admin. So the main admin sign in, Karen has and Emily has. I didn't even appreciate that list of users, and there's people in there I don't even know most of those people that are in the user section. So I would say get rid of all of them. apart from me.
Aye. Yeah, I mean, you can come in and delete people if you like. The only ones that I would say to keep, obviously, is SCCJR admin and editor. They're both me.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah.
But apart from, I mean, the editor one, that was just an example, so I could show you what the editor view looks like. The rest of the people, feel free to do with them as you please.
Okay, grand. Karen and Emily, have any questions, or does that all feel kind of okay? Like you can figure it out when you get there as well.
Heads are nodding. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Grand. Well, thank you very much for that.
No worries.
Cool.
Right, yeah, exactly. I think it's just good that we're getting close to. It's like I always like to see a website going live, so we're getting close to that point.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time to just kind of run through all of that as well. And I think, certainly from experience, I think just getting your hands in the website and being able to upload things, and it's that great moment where you fill a form out and you hit update and it actually loads and it looks great, and you can
Does
just
the thing you expect. Yeah.
Yes, it does what you want it to do, and you can just keep moving on to the next page. But no, that's fine and everything from my end. And I think we just do as we've been doing, where we just check in with one another, and maybe next week just drop me an email, let me know how you're getting on, and likewise I'll let you know if, what progress we're making too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Well, good to see you all.
You
yep.
too.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.